Now let's think about our database tables from the client side. Okay, somebody wants to become a new customer and they want to sign up on a web page. Okay, so we're going to have a web page form. Okay, so let's think about designing one for the customer table. Okay, we know we have customer ID, and then I think we have 10 or 11 fields, something like that. So let's think about how we might do this. And our starting point, I think, excuse me, should be if we just scroll right up to the top of Moodle, and we should have a template there somewhere. Let's try the content centering. Okay, just to put it, in fact, no, we won't even try it. Let's just create a basic web page here. Okay, so here's our basic template here. So we'll just copy that, excuse me, and just a new document. Just double check I'm in the right place, dynamic web development. Okay, and let's make a HTML page. Okay, normally we would be creating PHP pages, but for the moment we just create HTML page. Okay, so this is, let's call it design form for customer table. Okay, .html. So here we go here. So what I am going to do here, okay, and we're not going to bother with any JavaScript form validation. Let's just not have anything like that. So designing a form for the customer table. Okay, something like that. So what do we know? We know we want a form, and we normally want to go to a second page when we click on the submit button. Okay, method equals post. We're going to discuss that in great detail later on because this is to do with how we actually send the information through PHP from our clicking the submit button into the database. So more about that later on. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and do a little bit of layout. Okay, so I'm going to use labels. And if you remember from last semester, if we set display inline block, which isn't coming up there for some reason, and if we also set 150 pixels, maybe set a width like that. Okay, so the question is, what do I need on my form for the customer table? So what we'll do is, to help us, is let's just take the code for that. Okay, so these are all the fields. So the idea will be that we have form elements that correspond to each of the fields. Let me just comment that out there so it's not interfering. Sorry, let's say that again. Okay, basically, do I want a form element, a text box, a number text box, to allow the user to type in the customer ID? Okay, the answer is no. Why? Because customer ID is auto increment. So our DBMS is going to take care of that. PHP-MyAdmin will take care of that. So I don't need that. Okay, so I'm going to delete that. Username, yes, I need a field for that. Form element, customer status, customer surname. Yeah, hopefully in your mind you're thinking, yeah, that's an ordinary text box. Yeah, that's a number text box. That's an email text box, whatever. I don't think I'm actually asking for an email. Oh, I am actually, yeah. Okay, so that is the approach. Now, what about the last one? Okay, the last field in the database table. Customer when joined. Okay, do I want to be able to type that in? What about someone in America who's 5 hours behind? How are we going to deal with all that sort of stuff, different time zones and stuff? The answer is you don't want that done by the user when they click the submit button. Okay, because you want that generated by PHPMyAdmin, whatever DBMS you're using. Okay, so that's not going to be done. So basically, I don't need that either, and I don't need that. So basically, I need a form element for each of those. Okay, so that is the plan here. So let's do the first one. Okay, and remember, we're going to have a label. So my first kind of attempt is I'm going to try and write some general code here. No. Okay. And then I'm going to see if I can get away with using that for as many of these form elements as possible. So we have 11 there. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so let's take the first one. Okay, like that. Customer username, email. Well, do you know what I'm going to do with that now? I'm going to set that as the ID equals and the name equals. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do as well. I'm going to copy that. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so the first one, Control C, I can put that in there and I can set that as the ID as well. And that's complete rubbish because that is not the type. Okay, I'm going to have that as the name. Let me just make this a bit smaller as well. Okay, so type, what is that? Email. Okay, so type equals email. So, okay, so you're thinking about each of the database table fields and thinking what form element will work best to capture that. Okay, and then we've got the 30. Okay, so we can set max length equals 30. Okay, like that. So that's the first one done. The next one. Okay, customer password. So hopefully you can see straight away type, form element type, text box is going to be password. So I will copy that as the ID. And I'll copy that as the name as well. Okay, now we haven't really thought about what the name property is all about, but we're going to come on to that with PHP. It's very important. Okay, ID, very important for JavaScript. Name, very important for PHP. Okay, what else do we want? Type equals password 10. Okay, so max length is 10 here. Okay, so in an ideal world, we will be designing the database tables and the form pages at the same time. Okay, try and get these all. Okay, the next one, customer status. Okay, so it's an int, that means type equals number. Okay, 1. Okay, so only one character, so that means the max can be 9. Okay, and then min equals 0. Okay, so I can't imagine we'd have a negative customer status. So let's copy that as the name. Actually, what I should have here as well is probably required. Okay, let's not kind of beat ourselves up too much about that for the moment. Okay, customer first name. Okay, that's just going to be type equals text, isn't it? Just ordinary text. First name is going to be in here and also in here, and then 15, max length 15. Okay, it's really important that you get the lengths to measure. Okay. Okay, so rather than bore you mindless with me typing up there, plus running out of time in the video, just to recap, here are all the fields from database table, and we are going to need a form element for all of them except two. Customer ID automatically generated by phpMyAdmin, and the timestamp customer when joined, that's automatically created by phpMyAdmin. Okay, so the others we need a form element for. Surname and first name, they are going to be two text boxes the same. Addresses, they're going to be basically the same, okay, just differing by the ID and the name of them. Okay, error code has to have 7 characters, so hopefully you're thinking immediately, regular expression pattern. Okay, county and country, normally we have selection lists for those. So when I take all that into account, let's just look at what we end up with the form here. Okay, so customer email, that's the username, so that has to be required. Max length 30. Password has to be required. Type equals password. Status, I'm going to put that in as required. It's probably going to be required. First name, yes, definitely the first name and the surname, the last name. Address line, I am setting the first 2 address lines as required, but the third one is not. Okay, error code, I'm putting in a regular expression for that. Okay, so we need 7 characters, alphanumeric characters. Okay, that's required. And then the county, I'm putting in a selection list for that. The first helpful option has no value, so the required means you have to pick one of these. Okay, similarly for country, required first option is no value, so you have to pick one of the countries, and could put all the other countries in if I wanted as well. Okay, and then finally we have a submit button and a reset button. So looking at that in a form then, okay, we have all this here. So I'm using HTML validation, and I'm using either using type, you can see number there, first name, whatever, last name. Address line 1 is required, address line 2 is required, address line 3 is not required, so the tab will automatically skip down. Error code, okay, it will pick it up immediately. Okay, that should be okay, 7, and then we can pick a county there. Click on here, I need to pick here. Okay, and then I don't have any action, so when I click on the submit button, I'm just going to end up on the same page. Okay, but normally what we'll be doing is we'll have a PHP page. When we click on the submit button, the action here will be a second page, which is going to run the insert code. Okay, so that is the story there. I started off with my database table, and I've designed a form based on that. Okay, and I'm using my knowledge of HTML validation in order to get the user to type in validate in there. Okay, and notice the importance of setting the max length to equal the actual data type length here. It's really important.